Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Tawheed and the Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles. Today I'm joined by an amazing human being, Joe Bailey. We've had Joe, I think, 2 years ago on the show, and I'm glad to have you back, Joe, because the last conversation and what you shared with us last time was left us at awe, and we were all touched by that conversation. Harry Durbitsky was with us, and it was
Right.
just amazing, to listen to it again. Um, and and uh, and I'm glad that you accepted to do this with me again, now that I'm, hosting the show. And also today's topic that you've chosen, seeing beyond our uh, seeing beyond our differences to our common humanity. And I just love this that you chose kind of similar topic that you picked for me to come and present on your podcast, Thriving in the Eye of Hurricane,
Mhm.
2 years ago. So it's just amazing that you're still interested in that and still want to share on that. Um, and I think everyone knows who Joe is here. It's just you that you don't know of them. But for those of you who doesn't know Joe, Joe is an amazing human being that I had the chance to. Uh, we've never met yet. We are planning to.
We will.
Uh, yes, we will. So for those of you who doesn't know Joe, um, Joe has been sharing this understanding for a long time. He's written 6 books. Is the Thriving the Hurricane the sixth or the seventh?
Six. I'm working on the seventh, but yeah.
He, yeah, working on the seventh. Wow. So he's working on the seventh, and he has been sharing this in 65 countries, and the books actually were bought in 65 countries and translated to 26 languages. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've spoken and shared this understanding, to organizations, universities, the media throughout the world, over the past 33 years, and have taught at several universities and consulted with many professional organizations to bring these principles to their employees and the clients they serve, including mental health agencies, addiction treatment centers, hospitals, businesses, government agencies, and schools. And we are just thrilled to have you, Joe, with us, to hear what you have to share about our topic today, and just explore this together. So good to have you.
Well, thank you again, Omar, for inviting me, and thank you all for showing up and listening to me. It's always I always learn something. I think that's why I write and why I speak and why I coach people is when I'm doing what I'm doing with you right now, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have absolutely no preconceived topic or other than seeing beyond a difference, which is about as broad of a net as you can cast, because we're all seeing a separate reality, right? But
Right.
whenever I teach or whenever I write, I have to go beyond what I know to what occurs to me in the moment, which is from that wisdom, that source of insight, that um, fresh baked pie out of the oven. It's not stale. And if I share from what I know up here, it doesn't have it might be nice ideas, but it's not alive. And it's the same thing with coaching or doing therapy with a client or being a parent. When you're doing things from rote, you're doing it from habit, from memory. It looks the same. It's like a picture of a sandwich. If you try to eat it, it doesn't taste good. There's no nutritional value in it. It looks just like a sandwich. It sounds like a sandwich, but it's not real. It's not the same. Or it's like going to a concert versus listening to music on the radio or on a tape or a CD. There's something about that in the moment that the audience brings out in the performer or the speaker or the writer that is alive to that moment. So I never know what I'm going to say. Like I didn't know I was going to say this right now that I'm saying, but that's what's coming through me. And I say through me because it's like it's not like, it's like there's this spirit up there doing it. It's like we're all connected to a universal intelligence that we could call divine mind or intelligence of all things, instinct. There's many terms for that supercomputer of all the knowledge realized, yet to be realized, exists. And so when you're listening to me and Omar today, when you listen from that place in you, rather than running it through your brain, like, oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I know that. Oh, I know this. If you hear it without having it pass through your intellect and let your heart listen, you'll hear it way deeper than you ever heard it before, even if it is the same. It'll touch you in a way that is fresh for you. And if you find, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, then you're still in your head innocently. We do that. I do that. We all do that. But if you can kind of clear your head of everything you think you know and listen for real questions that you're having, real insights that you're having, and you can share those today. I'd love to hear your insights as much as you'd love to hear mine because is wisdom that isn't owned by anyone. I have my books copyrighted, but I don't really feel like I've written my books. As Omar knows, I never in a million years thought I would ever write a book or be a public speaker. Uh, the only course I ever flunked in college was public speaking. And I was told by my high school guidance counselors that I wasn't college material. I shouldn't go to college. So I've had all these ideas of what I could or couldn't do, and and what I learned from Sydney Banks, who I was extremely blessed and fortunate to have been able to hang out with Sid and travel with Sid and listen to Sid in person and have him as my mentor and coach and consultant to our mental health center for many years. Um, uh, I never knew whatever I heard from Sid. He would always say, "Listen to me as though you're hearing me for the first time," because what I'm going to say is always pretty much the same. But if you listen beyond the words, you're going to hear the deeper meaning that the words are just pointing to. Words are just symbols of something that's beyond words. And so when I was asked to write a book, I had all these ideas of what a writer does. And, I got really insecure about, oh, I'll never be able to do this. And, uh, my insecurity kicked in, my self-doubt, all the tapes of all the things I'd been told kicked in. But when I just got into a feeling of uh, really wanting to help addicts, the first book was The Serenity Principle, which was about addictions, because that was my primary field of study and clients that I worked with. And I didn't, I had an outline and all this, and I tried to write like I was trained to write. And I came back to bed after a couple hours. My wife said, "What's the matter, Joey? How did it go?" She calls me Joey B. And I said, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. I knew I couldn't write, blah, 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 blah." And she says, "Well, what were you trying to do?" And I said, "Well, I was trying to write the introduction to the book." And she says, "Well, why would you do that? You haven't written the book yet." Oh, that's a good point. She said, "Well, why don't you just write from your heart and see what comes?" And so I went back, and this was before laptops. Uh, I'm 120 years old, for those of you who don't know. Um, I'm kidding. Uh, So it's before computers, before laptops. So I'm writing on a tablet, and I wrote 17 pages without stopping, and my hand was cramping. I couldn't keep up with my handwriting, and because it was just pouring through me, is what it literally felt like. It was just like I couldn't stop it if I tried. And so that was the first experience breaking through, busting through that belief that I couldn't write. And it did need a lot of editing for sure, but the ideas were fresh. They were from the heart. And I started seeing that I could write. I could write, and I had the same thoughts about being a public speaker. My course in public speaking, I was so nervous I would throw up before the talk. And I just was very insecure about speaking in public. But now I find if I just look at you and feel you, it just comes out of me without any thought on my part, without having to prepare or plan and that's a beautiful thing for all of you to know because that's true for everyone. You know, my new book I'm writing is called My Magic Carpet Ride, um, because it feels like this wisdom, this inner guidance system that you and I and everybody has is like taking me on this journey in life that I have. Someone who was told not to go to college has written, oh, I've written a couple more books that didn't get published, like 7 or 8 books. I've traveled all over the world teaching these principles. I've done things I never imagined. And I always have to keep pinching myself. Is this real? How is this happening? So I got lucky, is what it feels like. I feel lucky. But that's what your your magic carpet that's in each of you has been guiding you all through life. When you ran into walls, it was redirecting you to a different path. When you got lost, you found a new place you never would have imagined you'd ever go to. You think you're lost, but you're actually found. So wisdom has a deeper intelligence than the intellect, the ego. And it sees beyond time, space, and matter. It sees into the future, if you will, to where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to go. And you get a feeling about it, but you don't have content for it. So the more that you trust in that, you start to see that life is this miracle unfolding moment by moment by moment. Now, just full disclosure, I'm not on that magic carpet consciously all the time. I get caught up in my thinking like any of you. I get in low moods. I get ornery. I get cranky. I get depressed. I get all the whole range of feelings. But even when I'm having those moods, those thoughts, there's always a part of me, a little voice in the back of me, my mind, that is saying, you're making this up. This isn't real. You're just in a mood. Get some sleep. Have a bite to eat. Go for a walk. You need a break. It's even when I'm off, it's there guiding me, even through what looks like a mistake is just a mistake. So the word mistake is a mistake. In making a film, take one. No, let's shoot that scene again. Take two. So when we make a mistake, it's just a mistake. So we get to learn from it. We get to step back and say, oh, that didn't work. And you listen deeper and you get another chance. Sid's title of his first book, Second Chance. You always are getting a second chance because you get to see the response you're getting in life. And when you're hitting a wall or you're discouraged, it's just redirecting you. it isn't what you thought it was. It's just it's a very loving, wise voice inside, the still small voice inside this guiding you, but you have to listen to it. So um, that's all I have to say about that right now. I'll just stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments on?
I love what you shared, Joe. And I love your the title that you've chosen for your next book, because it really feels like a carpet ride. And I do remember once I had this kind of like a metaphor of how life looks like to me after coming across this understanding. I was interviewed by Rob Cook in his podcast when he was interviewing everyone for 3PGC, and he asked me, like, how do you, like, what's changed for you, like how do you see life now? And I do remember sharing this metaphor about, like, life to me right now is feels like I'm skydiving. I'm skydiving, but knowing fully that I will land safely. So if I knew that I will land safely, if you knew that you will land safely, what would you do while skydiving? What would you do, Joe?
Oh, you just have a great time.
Have a great time and enjoy the view from above, and that's exactly how, like what is like how this understanding clears our minds and make us really see that life is um is a cosmic joke, as Cinemac used to say. It's a game. It's not something that we have to be in like, or take seriously, and just play with it and enjoy the ride, you know. And sometimes the ride seems so scary, and we are like stuck in a place where we don't know what's gonna happen. We have moments where we are reminded that it's still a ride, like you're being guided through it all. Like you have nothing to lose. You're playing with the casino's money, and your well-being is not at stake. Oh, that was a huge relief to me, because we hear this a lot in the Three Principles community, but I always related to the fact that I tried to fix me, that there is something wrong with me, and that I needed to do something about my insecurities to fit in, and be like the cool kid in my school back when I was in college. So with time I start, like when I came across like the self-development books and The Secret, and I start applying what I was reading, it felt better and something started changing, and that was the beginning of my journey. But the Three Principles is such a it really like it stopped me on my tracks, because I really stopped trying to figure out ways how to fix me, because I really saw that there is really nothing to fix. There is really nothing to fix in us. There is really nothing to fix in you. We don't need fixing. Who we truly are is intact. It cannot be damaged. How amazing is this? I mean, just this fact is mind-blowing to me. So yeah, we are really blessed indeed, Joe, and all, to come across this. And some of you might be wondering, having questions, but yeah, just stick with this. and you shall see for yourself too. So I think it's a good time to open it up for, you know, people who want to share something or a question. Just raise your digital hand or wave at me. I'll make sure I will not miss seeing you.
They're all enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if no one has anything to say,
Victoria.
oh, I'm sorry, Victoria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Omar. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
I already met with both of you. Maybe Joe don't remember me in the crowd. I was hiding myself. I came across with the three principles like 2 years ago, approximately. And it's really life-changing. I think that I also went through something similar, like Omar mentioned, that searching, reading lots of self-helping book and things like that. And what's helped, but and it mainly didn't. But the three principle is based on my experience, that how it's helped me. It's just so easy to do nothing, just remember that how our experience technically are created through these three principles. And in the last couple of months, I really experiencing that deeper understanding and just recognizing that when it feels good, I don't want to when I feel good, I don't want to fix myself at all. I just feel good and enjoying the moments. But when I'm not feeling good, when that bad feeling is there, so I always looking for solutions for those feelings. But more and more I understand, and more I recognize that there is technically no solutions. I just have to let them go, or I just have to feel those bad feelings, or recognize something what I have to recognize. Mainly, I have to recognize my heavy thinking in those moments. And then they disappear, or they slowly vanish and or change. But I think that's what I really love in this, that how simple is that, even to apply any area of my life, everywhere. And it's just really help to live a better life, to have a better relationship with people, with others. When I understand myself, I feel I can understand better others as well, and don't engaging in situations when previously we engaged, or I engaged, and it didn't went well.
Yeah, it's like your learning curve gets really,
Yeah.
you learn from mistakes rather than feeling bad about yourself. Oh God, I can't believe I keep doing that. You wake up more and you learn from your mistakes. So it's an unfoldment of wisdom that's right there when you're overthinking, the clouds of overthinking clear, and then you see the sun again. Oh, it's still there. You can hear that still small voice of wisdom's whispering to you, Victoria, don't take it so seriously. You have everything you need. It'll be all right.
Yeah, and as you just says, that learn from mistakes, from those mistakes mistakes, but many times I recognize that I still repeating those mistakes in those bad moments. And there are always a turn, or many times I experiencing a turning point when I really recognize that what I am doing. And then I start to do less mistakes again. And after I still doing the mistakes, but one point again, I recognize them, and okay, I do it less again. So it's continuously, mistakes are there, but we just have to recognize the message, or the learning. This is how I saw it the last couple of times. Then I'm a mom of for a 8 years old little girl, and she's sometimes challenging me, but I just more and more I recognize that I better I get that. Okay, it's might even recognizing once it will not help, but by time I'm improving every time.
Yeah. So there's an evolution.
Oh yeah.
In my books, the Serenity Principle, I think in Thriving in the Eye of the Hurricane, I have the spiral. And then the addiction book is the spiral of addiction, how you hit a bottom, and you realize, oh, I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, I need help. That turning point is when you start to realize that it isn't everything else that's creating my problem. It's my thinking, or something that I'm not seeing clearly. And when you start to see your part in creating your experience, and then you get an understanding of the three principles, that you're always living in the world of your thinking in the moment. You're always feeling your thinking every moment. You're not feeling what you're thinking about, you're feeling you're thinking about what you're thinking about. And once you see thought as the variable that is creating your experience, rather than the varieties of experiences that we go through in life, the weather, our child's moods, our mate's moods, our finances, what's on the news, that when you see thought in the moment as the creator of your experience and the innocence of that, it's easy to let that thought pass through your mind. And then it creates room, in a sense, that humility, openness, aha moment of seeing thought, it makes room for insight, which is a thought that comes from that deeper sense of wisdom, of common sense, of genius. So it makes room for the insight. When you get an insight, it's like, wow, everything looks totally different than it did a few minutes ago. And then you respond to life in a totally different way, creative way. And so your life gets better. But then you get caught up in maybe a belief about that. And so it's time to get a deeper understanding. So there's an evolution designed into the understanding of the principles. You keep evolving. I've been learning the principles, discovering the principles since I was 31 years old. I'm 75. So a lot of years, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of insights. But I'm still in discovery mode every day. I see it a little deeper. I see it a little deeper. I see it a little deeper, because there's no end to wisdom. The spiral has an infinite arrow to it, of infinite evolution. And when humanity gains the understanding of what's creating their experience on a grander scale, it will evolve cultures and countries to the point where people will be able to resolve their differences instead of war, instead of hatred, instead of guns, instead of violence, instead of judgment. There will be more understanding. And we've seen this on a microcosm in working with hospital systems, as I have, or school systems, or neighborhoods, where the whole community is gaining an understanding. It's like what Beverly Hayes Wilson, my dear friend, she worked with a community in Oakland, California, that had the highest murder rate in the state of California, this neighborhood. There were gangs, the Black African American and the Spanish gangs fighting all the time. So there's a lot of murders, 3 or 4 murders a week in the neighborhood. Murders a week. There are bodies everywhere. Beverly was hired. The mayor heard about what happened in Florida and Modelo, that Dr. Roger Mills created the first transformational application of the principles to a high-risk community in Florida. He read about that and he said, I want you to do that here in Oakland. And so she just started by meeting with a few of the mothers and in a small little group and sharing the principles, and they just started to change. They quit being as reactive, and it just pretty soon other people wanted to come to this group, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And fast forward a few years later, there were no murders in the community. Instead of 4 a week, they completely changed. They put gardens in where there was just a dirt playground. They planted trees. They made it beautiful. They put in basketball courts. They got lights. They quit knocking the lights out with rocks. The whole community bloomed. It was the same people, but the level of consciousness went up. So you could see in that microcosm of a neighborhood the power of this understanding. And that's been replicated in Minneapolis and in Iowa and in Mississippi and all over many, many places, and in prisons and in hospital systems. And, so when the level of consciousness, even of a few people, like when I worked at Mayo Clinic, I only worked with the top leadership team. There were 6,000 employees. And I only worked with maybe 50 teaching the principles, but they were the leaders. And the whole level of burnout and stress for the whole organization, and they test them all the time, fell dramatically in 2 years, just because the leaders changed. So as this understanding goes out, and it's now in how many languages, my God, it's all over the planet, and 3 principles programs in Ukraine and Poland and UK, all over. You can see that it's going to take a while, I guess, but it's inevitable because people are drawn to positivity. They're drawn to wisdom. They are inspired by it. They're inspired by it in music and poetry and movies. That doesn't mean there isn't still a whole lot of negativity in the world. There are wars, and our campuses in the US, they're all exploding right now with the ripple effect of the Palestine-Israeli conflict, and all these things are happening. So it's not like you're having blinders to it, but you're seeing, oh, if they could just see their thinking, they wouldn't hate one another. If they could just see that it was their thinking that was creating their feelings instead of the other race or the other religion creating their hatred, it would change the world. So Sid said, we asked him when he was dying, are you worried this is going to get lost? And he says, it's the cat's out of the bag. He said, you can't put truth back in the bag. Once truth is out, it will just keep going through one person at a time.
If you allow me just to share quickly something. Yesterday, I was in a short conference. I'm studying in leadership in workplace health and well-being here in Ireland, where I'm living in one of the university. And yesterday was a little workplace well-being conference. And there was 2 or 3 workplace representatives talking about what they are doing, how they engage with people, and what they do, what they are doing. And they are not, I mean, my desire to bring the principles into companies as a workplace has and well-being initiatives. But one of the workplace created their policies and work employee engagement program based on that, how they can, that it's like this diversity and inclusion, that everyone is welcome. There is no difference. You are human being, just be yourself. And I was so amazed that companies, I can tell the name, I'm not working there. I just really amazed at what they are doing. It's Uber, that their people technically so open to represent who they are, their culture, their whatever, who they believe, their clothes. There is policy that you can be who you are, be your authentic self, and they are performing much more better in a workplace when they are not judging each other who they are.
Yeah.
That they are just accept each other. So I think it's people are intuitively know this. Just when we start to believe in someone else who start to tell something and conflicts start. This is how I see it. And that was a great example for me, that and see that when we simplify something, that you don't have to fit in, you just be who you are and respect the other, who are they.
Yeah.
Things go so smoothly.
Yeah. Well, I see another hand up here. Maybe give Martin a chance to say
Yeah,
something.
sure.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria. Apparently, Uber embodies what our topic today, seeing beyond our differences to our common humanity. That's brilliant. Yes, Martin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to add in that intro that was fantastic. I really, really love that intro. I've done mental training, as a professional where I coach people for like 18 years. And what you just said right there was maybe the best intro of a live webinar thing that I've ever seen in my whole life.
Wow.
That was special. I am gonna rewatch it and I'm gonna record it and I'm gonna look at it again. That's true.
Wow. What Omar said?
What you said, Joseph.
Oh, okay. I have no idea what I said. That's the beauty of it. I gotta play it back. Oh, what did I say there? It's funny. My wife often says, or my staff used to tell me when I ran a mental health center, Joe, go to your office and read your book to remind yourself of what you wrote. Because, you go up and down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is what you've been saying, Joe, that you don't prepare for what you're gonna say. I don't prepare as well for what I'm going to be talking about. And yeah, something comes out beautifully when we really get out of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't prepare either. I just show up and see what happens.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, Martin, I was feeling really discombobulated, if that's a word, before the thing when I realized, oh my God, I'm an hour behind when the talk was going to start. So I got because I was in the sauna, naked, pardon me, but the truth. I go, oh my God, I'm supposed to be in the webinar. So I'm completely out of sorts. Oh, I can't believe I did this. How did this happen? And blah, blah, blah. And I was but when I look at all of you and listen to Omar's introduction, it just zoomed me right back into my mental health. So 1 minute you can be completely cuckoo and off balance and discombobulated, and the next minute you can be speaking pure wisdom. So it's just but once you know you have a compass and how to use it, You never get lost. You can go off track because you're not always looking at it. So you can get off track and you go, oh, I'm way off track. So you get back on track. So
It's like when we were babies, Joe, having tantrums and crying, and the next minute just smiling and playing. When we were babies, we were perfect at that, right? Having a tantrum, and then the next minute we are, laughing and playing, and then again we're crying.
Right. Yeah, that's
But-
true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
it's in us, it's within us to get over things quickly and just be on a spot and be present in whatever you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Resilience isn't always being up here. It's being able to come out of the lows. It's that's what resilience is because we live in a very confusing world, lots of uncertainty, lots of wars, lots of political division, etc. And so you're going to bump into stuff all the time, and in your own lives, and your families, and your jobs, and your parenting. It's a contact sport, but you get up quicker, you get back on your feet faster. So, is it Moya?
Maya.
Maya. That's
Maya. Thank you,
Hi.
Martin. Hi, Maya.
I love the introduction as well. It really touched me. And it's true. It's like goes for everything. Look at it like as if it was the first time. And we get so used to just hearing it and say, oh, well, it's the three principles. I know that. No. Okay. So what occurred to me reading the title, Seeing Beyond Our Differences, is that I've been contemplating how I and other people in the 3P communities make this distinction or difference or duality between us in the 3P and those outside. Have you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
So I know, of course, it's our thinking, and it doesn't make me a better person because I'm judging in that moment.
Yeah.
But I think I would love to hear you speak to that if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
Seeing beyond that, because I mean, to me, the difference between me and somebody who does not know the principles is the same as the difference between me now and me before I knew.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, we're all human beings having a human experience, and we go in and out of our understanding, and so it's easy to think, once you've had a realization of this and you see the simplicity of this, like when I was first met Sid, I was in a clinic and all the other therapists were, Gestalt therapy, family systems, all these different types of therapies, all basically taking people back in the past and reliving their life and their childhood and all of that. And um, and when I saw this, I wanted everybody to see the principles, and I was very obnoxious about it. Because it helped me so much and helped my clients so much. I just wanted everybody, can't you see? And so I found myself getting judgmental of them for their ignorance. And then I could feel how judgmental I was feeling. And it didn't feel very good to be judgmental. So that was information, judge not lest thee be judged. That saying, when you judge other people, or you think you found the answer and everybody else is an idiot, then you become a cult. it becomes like a cult. Everyone has to think the same way, and this has happened over the 40 some years I've been involved with the principles. But when Sid was alive, anytime that we would all think, oh, we know and nobody else does, he would come in and destroy whatever we thought we knew. And it was purposeful to keep that humility and that gratitude for what you know, rather than superiority or judgment of others. Because as soon as you're judging and superior, you've lost the feeling. You're not coming, if you're not coming from love. There's a song when I was growing up, grew up Catholic. They will know you are Christians by your love, was the lyric of it. It wasn't they will know you are Christians by your crucifix on your chest or your where you go to church. They'll know if you're in the state of love. And it's the same with the principles. If you're arrogant or judgmental or dogmatic, you've lost the feeling. So the feeling is the litmus test for your moment-to-moment understanding. You know, your feelings are your guidance system that let you know when, because I can do that. I can get superior up on my high horse and judge my colleagues for how they're doing the principles, and it doesn't feel good to do that. It's not supposed to feel good to do that. So if you see someone who's you know, lost the feeling or off balance, if you can have compassion, if you see what's happening with them, you'll feel compassion instead of judgment. It doesn't mean you can't accurately see them. It's not like you're being Pollyannish. I don't mean that. But you're like in my marriage with my wife, she and I, we have moods, you know, just like any couple, all day long. And I'll get judgmental or irritated with her, or she'd get judgmental, irritated with me. But we both know that we're off when we're doing that. It clicks in eventually, and we go, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I was just in a low mood, or I was just tired, or please forgive me. You know, we come back together because we're just human. We're just human. So Sid had a temper. He'd get upset and blah, 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 and really blow up at times. And what? You're enlightened. You shouldn't have anger. And then he'd come back and he'd call a couple hours later and oh, pay no attention to that. It was just blah, blah. You know, he would, it would be over. So knowing the principles is kind of like knowing gravity. It doesn't mean you don't fall. You're still going to fall. But this winter I was skiing. I love to downhill ski, and I was skiing in Montana. And a young adolescent, 16-year-old snowboarder hit me at 40 miles per hour. We're coming down the hill, and boom. And I was sure I broke my leg. Absolutely sure. And they put me in a stretcher and took me to the clinic and x-rayed me and all that because my leg hurt so bad. I never threw out so many F-bombs in my life. And an F-bomb is a swearing, by the way. It was just an automatic response. And the poor kid, he felt terrible. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was looking at my dad and I hit you and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, it's okay. But I was scared that I broke my leg because it hurt that. And in that moment, I swore at him. But then a few minutes later, you know, I was just like, oh, thank God my leg's not broken at all. I wish I could find that kid and apologize for swearing at him. But you know, we're still human, and we move in and out, and we just have to have a lot of compassion, because when we're down, we need compassion, and it brings us up. Yeah, Martin, he has his hand up again. I love Martin. He's
I
not
just want to
shy.
I just want to add in that it makes me feel so much better about my own temper that Sydney Banks sometimes used to get upset about stuff because I only know him from the videos and from the books.
Right. Yeah. 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 We were traveling with Sid, my wife and I, and his wife, Judy, in Ireland. And he had given a talk in England, and we were going to go to Ireland afterwards, so we invited them to come with us. And Sid was very critical of my driving. Of course, it was on the other side of the road, and the streets were all about 4 feet wide, I think, in Ireland. I was used to super 8-lane highways in the US. So he was in the back seat. Joe, he'd get very critical of my driving. And I was like, God, I'd never been around Sid for 5 days, in a compressed car in a foreign country. And I got to see all these other sides to Sid because I had him on this pedestal that he was just, in nirvana 24/7. And I got to see that he was just human. And we went golf, and he'd hit some terrible shots, and he'd get mad and want to throw the club or whatever. He's just like all of us. And I thought, wow, this is really cool to see he's a human being. He's enlightened, and he's a human being.
Yeah.
And so the difference is that he wouldn't make anything of it. He wouldn't feel bad about it. He would just move on to the next. It was like, that was just a moment. And it taught me to not take myself so seriously about how I'm doing the principles. Oh, am I doing the principles? It's not a doing. It's a compass. You're going to get lost, and it's just going to tell you when you're lost, so you can get back on track.
Nina has her hand up.
I see that.
Yes.
Makes me
Hi.
want.
Hi, Nina.
Hi, everyone. Lovely
Hello.
to be here. I was thinking of when we were talking about that we are falling or we are doing mistakes. And actually, and also when you talked about Sid Banks now, when he had a temper or something, he just went on like it was not a big deal. And I was thinking of little toddlers when they can't really walk perfectly yet and they fall, and we never get angry on a little boy or girl who just have learned to walk and tell them you shouldn't have fall, you should keep up all the time. Of course they fall. And I feel like we are all babies in this life, and we just live, and we do different kind of things, but it isn't mistakes, and we aren't doing anything wrong. Sometimes something we do have some consequences, and we just have to face them. But when I saw that there is no actually judgment in the space, in my silent space, I didn't feel so much, I didn't have all the judgmental thinking about myself, and I was also more tolerant towards others. And if I judge them, I just recognize it. Oh, that's some thoughts I have, so I just go on. And I with people that don't know anything about the principles, I've seen that if I can be really present, the presence doesn't kind of have a preference. It doesn't have judgmental or judgments. Sorry for my English.
You're speaking perfectly, Nina.
Thank you. So I feel there is, if I really stay present, my judgmental thinking going less, and I feel that I can meet the other person. Let's meet in love, because I see they have a lot of love. even though they don't know about the principles, or they don't are very persons doing a lot of kind things. But I find it easier to see that there is love behind their wishes. There is love behind, and sometimes the fear is covering the love, but I can feel that there is searching for love behind. And then it's much easier for me to quit my judgmental thinking, because I really agree with you. To have judgments towards myself or others, it's not a good feeling.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And yet, you know, I still have those feelings at times.
Mm.
I do, and I wish I didn't, but I do. And and then I can either judge myself for being judgmental or love myself and
Mm.
see, okay, I just was a little off, you know, and then I can apologize to the person if it was appropriate for being
And
judgmental.
yes, and that gives such a soft feeling when
Yeah.
I can forgive myself that I did it, and it's not a really mistake. I'm just a baby, not standing up. I just fall, and I can tell the other person, oh, sorry, and it creates such a softness which love arise.
Yeah. I love your sharing, Nina. It's beautiful. The feeling of it is so soft and loving and gentle.
Oh, thank you. I got so inspired when you talked about it.
Well, you
When Nina raised her
inspired me
hand, it's
back.
always
It's your
juicy.
fault. What?
When Nina raised her hand, it's always something juicy and beautiful, and she shares from,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
heart. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, Omar. I never, what really freed me as a teacher and as a writer is to really be comfortable having absolutely no idea what I'm going to say and being okay with that. And um, and it took a while for me to feel that with being a teacher of coaches and therapists and people, because I was, you know, trying to get it across or trying, you know, and it's just really helpful to know that you're always a student and that no one ever arrives at uh, the pinnacle. You know, that we're always, you know, we're always going up and down, but over time, if you can see it from a distance, you can see you're gradually moving up, but it's not a straight line. It's up up and down, but it's moving with an understanding. Now, if you didn't know how to do carpentry and you had all the tools, but you had no knowledge, you would put a house together that wouldn't last very long. But with the knowledge of how to use the tools, you can build one that will stand and will look beautiful. And it's the same thing with building a life. The tool is thought, the tool is awareness, the tool is wisdom and understanding and having a thought system and drawing from it when you need some facts, some information, and knowing to go to the well for new thought when there isn't an answer there. So the principles don't give you mental health, but they allow you to get on the learning curve to discover what's already in you. You know, just like we're building, we had to demolish our house. We found out 2 years ago our house had mold, and we were dying. Literally, my wife and I were dying from it. We didn't know what was wrong with us, and we finally found a doctor who suspected mold and had us test for it, and we were like off the charts, full of mold. And so we had to demolish our lovely home that we've lived in for 40 years. And it was our pride and joy. We just loved living there. But we had to demolish it in November, and we're rebuilding it now. Now I'm living in the home that I grew up in with my parents' home. Coincidentally, became available to rent the same month that we needed it. And it's 2 blocks from our house. So it's very convenient. So there's another little miracle that happened with that. But in the process of rebuilding it, it's a complex thing to rebuild a house and connect it to existing structures. And so working with all of the carpenters and the electricians and the plumbers and the this and the that, it's been a lot of work, a lot of activity, and a lot of expense, because insurance didn't cover any of it either, because they don't cover mold. So we've had probably one of the most challenging periods of our life in the last year or two. We were sick. We lost our house. We lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money. It was really like, holy shit. Pardon my swearing there, but I swore a lot during this period. Because so we were really up and down a lot with this, because it was, we're in our 70s. We're not ready to start all over again at 75, but we did. And we found a way to do it. And it all happened miraculously. It was like these unexpected miracles. The right architect, the guy across the street, connected us to all the right contractors. And it's just fallen into place in this miraculous way. But it was extremely challenging, physically, emotionally. So boy, were we glad we knew the principles to get our bearings back, because we go off a lot. We'd lose our bearings. We were tired. As soon as I'd walk in the house, it would have a physical reaction. I had to leave. It was like allergic to my home. So it was, I'll write about that in my new book, because it was a great learning period for us to just be present, take one day at a time, and just put one foot in front of the other. Because are we okay on time here?
Yeah, we are okay.
Okay.
We're okay. I think we could go for 10 more minutes. If there is anyone that has any question or anything to share.
Going once? Going twice?
So anyone else? Deviash has been quiet today.
Divish,
Hello.
I
Hi.
haven't seen Divish in a long time.
Hi, Joe. Hi,
Hi,
Omar.
Divish.
Did I catch
I
you
don't
off
know.
guard, Deviash?
No, I'm listening. I was in the really deep listening to Joe talking about the house and the expectations. Like I really identify with what Joe was saying, because I have so much insecurity. I've lived in 5 continents. I've moved around. I was born in Kenya, lived in UK, then US, then back to UK, a bit in Europe, a bit in Dubai and Australia. And security of home and security of this and financial insecurity and not knowing where exactly my profession, family business, but who am I? Where am I? Always dogging me in like an undercurrent of living a lie to myself and all these things in life. And an anxiety-ridden wreck and worrying and overthinking. And it all had a purpose with addiction thrown in. 17. I'm now 17 years and 3 months sober. So I loved your surrender principle, but so all that threw in to bring me to somewhere through a line of the 3 principles. And Joe, you were among through that person. You get to you and Christine Heath and Judy and Dickon and then somehow Omar and Harry and so many people, Keith, and I'm not saying the name, but each one of you, I mean, you and the resonance, and it's the wisdom within resonating with what you speak, and it gives hope being in the present. I don't know how else to describe it, but listening to you saying reorganizing at 75, but without sort of effortlessly, I mean, it's a lot of effort in the form world, but an inner security of being, which you were aware of existed. You see, I've lived in insecure thinking most of my life and continue to do so even in this understanding, but less so, or rather return back to what you said beautifully earlier, which was there's a well for the uncertainty, or like you go to the well for the uncertain bit and the facts for the intellect, and that's about it. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just, instead of, I've reacted at on and off, and so has my wife, but just getting curious allows us to ask questions. And so many people are there that know so much more than we do about these things, because I'm a psychologist. I'm not a carpenter or a plumber or whatever.
Yeah.
People love it, if you really ask a sincere question, they love to help you. And so all these people, it's like we feel like so blessed. We've had the most extraordinary workers, many of whom don't speak any English. Thank God I know Spanish, because the Spanish speaking workers were the
Mhm.
amazing. And we just feel so blessed that we've had so much help coming out of nowhere. And so it's become and my wife is great. And she makes friends with all the people at the city, to give the permits and everything. And they love it when Michael comes in. She brings cookies and whatever. And they love seeing her come because everyone else hates them and is mean to them because they're so slow to do things and impossible bureaucracy. But she's just so sweet. And so everybody just flocks to her and is so, they bend over backwards to help her in us. And so it's been a real learning experience about going through our own hurricane that demolished our home
Mm.
through mold, and seeing how the principles will guide us even through what is the last thing you'd want to go through in your later life, to lose everything. But
Mm.
hey, we're still standing, as the song goes. I'm still standing on my own. Don't ask me to sing.
Yeah, sorry, but it's I think what happens also, which I noticed in hindsight, because I just went to a wedding in Kenya, where I was born, and I carried a head full of shoulds, and what if this happens, I'll do that and this and that, but what happened there in hindsight was whatever I had in my head didn't play a part in what came out of my mouth. Or I don't know how else to say it, but the presence was much stronger than my intellect or something. And it was a beautiful experience where resentments faded without me doing it like anything about it. Call it a series of little insights. I don't think there was any, I don't know whether there was a major clanging, but it was quiet moments. And one thing was, if you're in the middle of this understanding in your wisdom, I have a feeling that other people sense it. The world changes and you go, how come the world looks better? It's nothing I did. It's and certainly not my usual putting the intellect on a pedestal, which I always did because that I thought that would get me through life. It was my coping mechanism. But it was the presence which held, of course, not all the time, but enough to change. My view is one thing, but other people's interaction, and it was a beautiful feeling. Yeah. It's the three principles: understanding. I still go to it like I did with everything else. Let me learn it to death. Like let me 100 courses here and 10 blah blah. But ultimately, even now, I start laughing at that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Divyesh.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is a good point to end this. I just want to put this out there. A week ago, myself and Joe, not a week ago, it's been a month or 2 months or so. Myself and Joe are planning a retreat together, which is going to be held in Morocco. And it's going to be like the way I was thinking about it, it's a 6-month program that will be culminating in a retreat that Joe will be among us. It's going to be just with a small group of people, 10 of us. Well, it's going to be 12 of us in total, including myself and Joe. And it's going to be in a town near Marrakesh, near the mountains. So it's going to be really intimate, small group of people, and it's going to be a powerful experience. So more to come. I'm going to share this on Tawheed and on my Facebook for anyone who is interested. We'll let them know about that. So I'm really excited for that, Joe.
Me too.
And
I've never been to Marrakesh or Morocco.
yeah. So it would be great to have you here. So thank you. I mean, thank you for what you shared with us today. That's been a lot of insights to take in for myself, and I guess for everybody here. You've shared generously and from the heart, and it just unfolded beautifully. Even in the midst of getting the timing wrong, but you made it. And yeah, thank you.
Well, you made my day, you guys, all of you, and thank you, Omar, for inviting me because I was very discombobulated all day today for some odd reason, who knows. And I'm good again. I feel blessed to. When you share from the heart, it helps you more than it helps anyone. So remember that. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so much. And I so look forward to our retreat together and planning our retreat. We'll have fun just anticipating and preparing for it.
Absolutely. And so we are thinking to have it around November. So there's still time to do that. So next week we're gonna have another episode. I think we're gonna have 3 for this month, and we're gonna have Mark Howard as a guest speaker. So I'm really looking forward for that. And the topic gonna be discovering our true nature, happiness, love, and understanding. So I hope to see you there. It's the same Zoom link, and I'll be posting the event, of course, on the Facebook group and on my Facebook, my personal Facebook. So thank you all.
Thanks, Omar.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Omar. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Joe, and everyone.
I'll speak to
Thank
you soon,
you.
Joe.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Omar.
Bye-bye.